Good morning, Newsmax Daily Podcast family, or good afternoon, whenever you're listening to this. Doesn't really matter. The day today is Wednesday, December 18th, and my name is Kay Hill. I'll be filling in today for the ever incredible Tony Marino. And I know what some of you might be thinking. This woman sounds an awful lot like Kay Smythe. Well, that's because I was Kay Smythe up until about a month ago on November 16th. I married the love of my life at our little family farm here in the South, so my name is now Kay Hill. Don't worry though, other than committing to God that I'll forever take care of my husband, not much has changed, which is why I'll be starting the show today with a segment from Rob Finnerty about, drumroll please, UFOs. Let's take it away, Rob.
I want to get your take on what we're all seeing. I saw one on Saturday with my son. Are these all drones, or is something else going on up there?
Well, Rob, first of all, thank you for having me, and that's a great question. The reality is what you just saw previously by the good general providing a public statement saying that all these are registered civilian aircraft. Look, the guest right before me, Miss Lake, said it right. The American people have a really good BS meter. And I suspect people don't buy this line of logic. Look, we all know the difference between a quadcopter and a helicopter and a Cessna. That's not what we're talking about here. And we have in one statement, the Pentagon saying we have no idea what they are, but we're pretty sure they're not foreign adversarial technology. And then as of today, literally the House of Foreign Affairs Committee chairman himself, Mr. McCall, said that he believes they're from China. And then you have the Pentagon coming out saying, well, actually, these are not our drones. And then later on, or actually even today, they could turn around and said, well, actually, we kind of know what they are, but they're still not ours and not foreign adversarial. The bottom line is that civilian drones don't fly in controlled U.S. airspace over restricted areas. They're not supposed to. We're seeing a rash of this. I have videos on my phone from Andrews Air Force Base, Langley Air Force Base. I wish the Pentagon and this administration would be consistent with their messaging, because all it's doing is turning people really away from trusting their government at a time, by the way, where trust is already at a historical low.
Okay, if aliens are here, and I think throughout your hearings we've concluded that something is here, what are they doing? And maybe more importantly, why haven't they made contact?
Wow. Okay, let's try to unpack that. So what are they doing if they are here? Well, they could be doing all sorts of things. As human beings, what do we do when we're on the African Serengeti? Well, we study. We fly our helicopters. We might dart a wildebeest and then take blood samples, and we're looking at its dietary migration patterns, its health, etc. It could be simply something just as curiosity. Why do we go to the moon? Why do we go to Mars? As far as the second part of your question, that's a little more complicated. This is a topic that's been going on now in the U.S. government. Your taxpayer dollars have been paying for serious study for the last 70 years into the topic of UAP, or what was once known in the vernacular as UFOs. Right. This is all the while, and this is one of the reasons why I don't trust the Pentagon, because I was there. The whole time, the Pentagon was telling people UFOs are silly, UAP are silly, there's nothing to see here. We're spending millions of dollars of taxpayer money with the consent of the Department of Defense to investigate none other than UFOs. And exactly what's happening here. You have a air flight safety issue. In some cases, these UAP were getting so close to combat formations, they were literally splitting the combat formation down the middle. So Think about that for a minute. Two F-18s flying in a combat formation, and these things splitting the formation right down the middle. My concern with these drones is right now, Rob, is that you have this schizophrenic approach within the U.S. government, and they're hoping at this point anything that will stick to the wall will work. And this is why they had a private conversation with the House Intel Committee. Notice how they didn't do it publicly. They just said, we're going to have a private conversation. This is after days and days and weeks of saying, folks, we have no idea what's going on here. We don't know if they're Russian. We don't know if they're ours. We don't know if there's something else potentially.
Lou, is the narrative that these are from Iran and China, is that narrative BS?
They're not from Iran. Let's make it very simple here. If you have a large, as some of these have been reported being the size of an SUV, those are not average hobbyist drones. So that's a bunch of malarkey. We're talking about something very sophisticated that can carry a heavy payload, something that is being electronically powered by a large battery and has loiter capability in some cases between 5 hours and even 10 hours. That's well beyond any type of commercial drone technology that we utilize. Right now, you're lucky if a drone can last more than 15, 20 minutes before it's got to come back and recharge. And then you've got a line of sight issue. When you're trying to communicate with the drone, you're using radio frequency primarily, and radio frequencies are being limited by line of sight. So if these are moving at 100 miles or 50 miles over the horizon, you need some aerial platform, either an airplane or a satellite, to serve as a repeater. So that means infrastructure, that means people, that means resources. And that would be a huge undertaking if this was someone like Iran or China doing this.
All right, let's talk about misinformation in the UFO, UAP, whatever you want to call them, drone thing community for a second here. Okay, this is something I'm very well versed in, having written and researched about this whole topic like extensively for both the Daily Caller and for the Y-Files, which is a great YouTube show if you've not seen it. But misinformation, when it comes to UFOs, like these drones, is kind of par for the course from our government. All governments, really. This is one of the sort of uniting factors around the globe is our elected leaders and the unelected people that actually run the government. They won't tell us what's really going on. There's a massive amount, obviously, of power and control gained by officials when the general public has no idea what's going on with the UFO phenomena. So, I mean, we can sit here and talk about like a handful of public cases in which the government and government officials has essentially spread misinformation and disinformation through UFO communities by pretending to be whistleblowers. So what I mean is government employees have come forward saying that while employed by the government, it was their job to tell lies to UFO researchers under the guise of sort of being whistleblowers. And they do this in order to destroy consistency within reports. They do it to basically make the entire field of research just seem ridiculous. And I think they do a really good job of that. And so why else really does the government do this? So aside from the sort of power and control, listen, it's just easier to keep secrets if they're hiding in plain sight. So I pray that these drones truly are just like what I think it is like, I think it's just a distraction tactic from some other bigger government operation that's happening over the Northeast. I think it's very telling that these drones are appearing over sort of closed airspace. And I think it would actually be really great for our enemies to think that America is ridiculous and distracted by silly little drones when what's actually happening is the government is testing some kind of stealth weapon that works like a drone, but I don't know, is undetectable to the technologies that Biden left behind in that botched withdrawal of Afghanistan. That withdrawal essentially armed the Middle East with huge amounts of really advanced American technology. We, again, probably don't know everything that was left there. So we need to kind of up our game. And I think that there's been so much evidence of so-called UFO people being tied to the government, being tied to these military operations. It is such a great tool to distract. Like if you can sort of like tease people over here with this like, oh, aliens, oh, scary, we don't know what's going on. When in reality, what we're doing is just testing a new weapon, which is like kind of what a lot of these stories turn out to be. I don't know. I think that would be a great thing. That's what I'm praying is happening here, and I'm fine with that. I'm not going to get scared. I've just seen this happen so many times. I've read about so many examples of this going back to like the 40s. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, hit me up. I don't know if I explained that well, but we're going to carry on with the sort of drone theme, but we're going to get on to some other topics here. We're going to listen to Greg Kelly's thoughts on the drones, as well as sort of his hopes for more transparency and action on a lot of different problems from the incoming Trump administration. So take it away, Greg.
As we get the runaround from the federal government about what's really going on with these drones, I am very confident that probably on January 20th in his inaugural address, President Trump might just tell us the whole deal. He'll be entitled to. He'll have full capacity to release classified information And this stuff shouldn't be classified. I've had it with the conflicting information. It is the Chinese. It's not the Chinese. It's America. It's a pain in the neck. But President Trump actually, I think, is hinting very closely to what he actually knows.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you shoot them down?
They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster.
Bedminster, yeah, he goes there a lot. Great big golf course, clubhouse. That's where he spends several months a year when he's not being president. He'll be at the White House a lot more. Look, here's the deal. He knows. He can't tell us. He's not president yet, but he knows. And I think this is a big clue, too.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
He's getting the briefings. He can't comment on it, but he will, maybe on January 20th, if we don't find out ahead of time. All these intelligence agencies, 18 of them, and I think they look down on us. They love power, they love the status, they love knowing things and not telling anybody or feeling special because they know things that other people don't know. 18 intelligence agencies, some of these you've heard of, like the Central Intelligence Agency. But have you heard of this, the National Space Intelligence Center? We've got one of those. What else? The Bureau of Intelligence and Research, that's news to me. The National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, the NGA. I also didn't know we had one of those. So the drones are out there flying basically every night. Got to admit, I have not yet spotted my first drone. I'm anxious to do so. Went out last night. It was too cloudy, but it doesn't look like it's going to be. Who remembers Close Encounters of the Third Kind, right? They actually had a drone fly by in that movie.
They can fly rings around the moon, but we're years ahead of them on the highway.
And the cop cars represent us. Just trying to hold on. We don't know what's going on. Oh, boy, that was cool. They're not like that. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, if you haven't seen it, I highly, highly suggest it. Richard Dreyfuss calls it quits, and all right, I won't say anything else. So President Trump will tell us when he can. I'm confident of that. Meanwhile, Joe Biden, he knows, and he won't tell us. He's on vacation again. Did you hear about this? He went away for Christmas today. It's Tuesday. Tuesday, the 17th of December. Christmas is next week. That's early, even for him. He's in Delaware. He knows what's happening, and he won't tell us. Do you remember that solemn, sacred promise he made to all of us?
My fellow Americans, I close the day where I began, with the sacred oath. Before God and all of you, I give you my word. I will always level with you.
You had to bring God into it, too. I think that's why you've had so many troubles, that sacred oath. And he's blowing us off. Blowing off is oath. Meanwhile, the people who still have to live in America and we don't have presidential protection and a presidential cocoon, we're dealing with it like this guy is, the mayor of Belleville, New Jersey.
In my opinion, they're looking for something. What might they be looking for? Well, potentially, we're aware of a threat that came in through Port Newark. Maybe that's radioactive material. There was and there is an alert that's out right now that radioactive material in New Jersey has gone missing.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that, Mr. Mayor. Meanwhile, it does bring people together. Democrats and Republicans alike, both frustrated about this moment. And it's possibly a little sign that maybe we can find common ground on some stuff.
The ridiculous lacking response by the federal government is the cause for the concern people have expressed.
This is what sort of boggles the mind, right? Don't worry. They're not a threat. We don't know what they are.
Right.
It just both can't be true.
Right.
Right? So this is why we need to get some answers.
And the people of Staten Island deserve answers. The people of this city and state and region deserve answers of what the heck is going on.
I did talk to the commander there. His men are seeing it right there at the base. Are you kidding me? A munitions depot of that caliber, and these drones are hovering in close proximity to it.
So even if these drones disappear, I do think we're going to get the full, straight story. And how about that for a moment of unity? How about that? Right off the bat, he can level with the American people in a way that Joe Biden never did on January 20th, 2025. Stay tuned. Prediction? Yeah, it's a prediction. All right, next, please. Yeah, the horrible massacre in Madison, Wisconsin. You heard about this, right? At the Christian school. We actually don't have many details on the victims, a teacher and a student. We don't even know the gender of the student, don't know too much about the teacher. The killer, we have the killer's picture, 15-year-old girl. We're not going to put the manifesto up. There's some online postings. Bottom line, she hated men really, really bad. And I wonder where she could have gotten a notion like that. Pretty much anywhere. Right? Our society is upside down and backwards and all over the place right now. I think the ultimate solution for so many of these problems, this plague of violence, right? Sorry, but President Trump called it again.
You know, the other thing under attack is religion. Religion was like the glue that kept this country together, and so many people are mocking it now. They mock it, and it just kept our country together. But it's absolutely under attack.
Well, it's true, actually. You can't talk about Christ the way you can talk about, I'm coming out as non-binary, or whatever the hell that means, right? 2024, you can talk about anything, but if you start sharing the gospel, you're going to make somebody uncomfortable. You should save that for Sunday. That's got to change, don't you think? We can be respectful, but we have a duty, those of us who believe, to share the good news. If they can share that nonsense, we can share the ultimate truth. And I think this is the ultimate truth regarding the violence we're seeing in schools. Partially, I don't want to make too much of it, but it's not helping the situation. Mentioned this yesterday, the violent video games. Right? They used to be so cool. They used to be so benign. Asteroids, this never inspired anybody to shoot up a school. All right, I know it's more complicated. Video games aren't the root of it, but psychotropic drugs, that's the leading suspect, all right, right there. And I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and President Trump are ready to tackle that big time.
So let's focus on the Twilight Zone theme of Kelly's monologue here. We're going to turn over to Carl Higbie's Frontline from last night, where he talked about one of the most important things keeping America safe, which is, of course, our Second Amendment. Take it away, Carl.
Yeah, it was really weird. After the healthcare CEO was shot with an illegal homemade pistol with a suppressor that's not allowed in the state that it was used in, there wasn't a peep about gun control. But now that someone who should not have had a gun anyway, because she was 15, after the school, she shot up a Christian school in Wisconsin. Now, all of a sudden, Biden is calling for an assault weapons ban, which she didn't even use. She used a pistol. After he just pardoned his son Hunter, in part, for a gun crime with a pistol. His VP comes out and says this.
Look, as we hold our loved ones close this holiday season, we as a nation must renew our commitment to end the horror of gun violence, both mass shootings and everyday gun violence that touches so many communities in our nation. We must end it, and we must be committed to have the courage to know that solutions are in hand, but we need elected leaders to have the courage to step up.
She is the vice president now. She's not doing nothing. It's all fake. Nothing these Democrats do in this sector is genuine. Also, what did I tell you yesterday? I said that if this had been a straight white Christian male, we would have known everything there is to know about the shooter already. And it turns out it wasn't. It was actually a seemingly deeply disturbed 15-year-old girl with an axe to grind with the world. With reportedly a manifesto, of course, calling for a, quote, war against humanity, living in a life where she had, quote, grown to hate people, who acquired a gun by, quote, lies and manipulation and my father's stupidity. This manifesto allegedly says that she was just going to commit suicide alone, but felt that it was better for evolution rather than just one stupid, boring suicide to kill people. Zero chance that her parents didn't at least know that this girl had some issues. Zero chance, folks. And since I was right about my prediction yesterday, here's another prediction. That this girl was probably on some sort of medication or some antidepressant that's known as SSRIs. That should come out in the next few days if Big Pharma and their overlords haven't gotten around to suppressing it. Not to mention that this is the second shooting at a Christian school in 2 weeks. The only thing that left calls for is for you and me, after all these things, to have our guns taken away. Thanks, but no thanks. What laws are you going to pass to stop? No, seriously, libs, there's no and then what. Let's have that conversation. Why don't you just make murder more illegal? Killing people is already illegal. Bringing a gun into school is already illegal. Most of these shooters obtain guns unlawfully. 15-year-olds shouldn't have handguns. Seriously, what law, Kamala, are you going to pass to stop these shootings? We have a constitutional amendment that the Supreme Court has backed it up and says, yeah, we can own guns and you can't take them. And I wouldn't give them to you anyway. So how are you going to do it? Just screaming, gun ban, and then blaming it on Republicans, saying that, oh, well, Republicans don't care about dead children. That doesn't solve anything. Have you ever thought for like half a second that maybe guns aren't the problem? Like spoons don't make people fat and cars don't make people drive drunk. Maybe guns aren't the problem. And really, the only guy calling this out on a mega platform, drum roll please, RFK.
It's very important to look at the role of psychiatric drugs in these shootings. And, particularly the SSRIs and the benzos, because we are using those like nobody else in the world. And if you look at the manufacturers' inserts for those pharmaceuticals, most of them say suicidal and homicidal ideation on them as side effects.
And doctors hand them out like candy. You know how easy it is to get a prescription for this stuff? You can get one after a 3-minute Zoom call with a doctor in another state who you've never met. And according to a nonprofit who tracks the mental health industry, 39 recent shooters have been on or recently withdrew from antidepressants or other SSRIs. I haven't seen one lawmaker raise a legitimate issue to the extent they do about gun control on the actual mental state of the children who are shooting up these schools taking these medications. Even though in 2004, this is from the FDA's website, quote, the Food and Drug Administration directed manufacturers of all antidepressant drugs to revise the labeling for their products to include a boxed warning and expanded warning, statements that alert healthcare providers to an increased risk of suicidality, suicidal thinking, and behavior in children and adolescents being treated with these agents. Why don't we have that conversation? No, we'll never have that conversation. Why? Well, according to Yahoo Finance, quote, the antidepressant drug market size is expected to reach $20.1 billion by 2024 and is further anticipated to reach $26.9 billion by 2033. This is according to Dimension Market Research. That's why. And then these same companies turned around and spent $4.2 billion lobbying federal, state, and local officials just last year. Stack that up to what the gun lobby spends. They came in at 3 zeros less, only $5.9 million. These drugs are way more dangerous than any number of guns, and yet all we got is a warning label on a bottle in such fine print that you can't even read it. So excuse me if I think that most politicians aren't actually serious about fixing the problem. The left wants red flag laws, but the states that these shooters do carry out these shootings in, most of them already have red flag laws, and they don't act on them. Connecticut, California, Colorado, Illinois, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Washington, they all have some variation of red flag laws, and all of these have had a mass shooting since those laws were passed. And after almost every single one of those shootings, a ton of people come out and be like, hey, I knew this person. Oh, yeah, they were crazy way before this. Yeah, we knew this person was nuts. So, again, like, what's the point of the red flag laws that I think are totally unconstitutional? But what laws can you pass to make criminals more accountable to the law? Just in recent history, you have 200 incidents of gunfire on school grounds, 58 deaths. This is according to Everytown, Bloomberg's left-wing anti-gun group. And the left whines that we can't reach a consensus, meaning that Republicans won't ban guns and that's why kids are dying. No, we can't reach a consensus because I don't agree with your conclusion. I want to shoot back. Have we tried that en masse? No, we haven't. We have tried banning stuff. I mean, have we tried putting, I don't know, an armed military veteran in every school in America? Nope, haven't tried that. Some states have tried banning guns, and it doesn't work. How about we try it my way? Look, I had this argument with a woman when my son was very small. I was at some baby tumbling gym thing. And, I bent down to pick him up, and my shirt came up a little bit, and a parent saw the handle of my gun. She absolutely freaked out in the middle of this gym. I was like, look, lady, relax. I had been there for 30 minutes with my son by now. And I said, if I was going to shoot somebody, I would have done it long ago. She's, why would you bring a gun to a children's gym? And I turned around and looked at her. And I said, what do you protect your most valuable asset with? And her tune changed like that. We protect our banks, our politicians, stadiums, special events, and even our worthless celebrities with guns. And our children get this $4 stupid sign out front that says gun-free zone. Serious problems require serious solutions. Taking guns ain't it.
So, yeah, what Carl said. I don't really think I need to add anything here. I thought that was great. So I'm going to leave it there for today, folks. You've listened to some sensible men share their sensible ideas today. And we always want to know what our listeners and viewers, our Newsmax family thinks. So get in touch with us on social media, preferably X or Truth Social, somewhere that has free speech still. My name is Kay Smythe. You've been listening to the Newsmax Daily Podcast. Tony will be back in action tomorrow. So I'll see you guys on Carl Higbie's Frontline every Tuesday and Thursday. And I'll also be on with Ed Henry on Newsmax too for some upcoming Monday shows. Thanks for tuning in today. Have a great day, and God bless.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.